Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers. I'm looking at a book this morning from Waterside Press. It's this book here, and it's called The Magistrates Court, an Introduction. It's the 5th edition by Bryan Gibson, ably assisted by Mike Watkins, who's a training advisor. We've written a review on Flickr, my wife and I. This is the book itself. You can see what it's like, a very small book. It's got some very useful highlighted pages there, and is very much an authoritative guide to the sorts of problems which the magistrates' courts have. And at the back is a very useful timeline, which I found extremely helpful. Let me talk a bit about the book anyway. We've given it a title, a benchmark book for justices and users, radically rewritten and updated for 2010. That's exactly what it is. It's very much a practical handbook. Bryan Gibson's a barrister. He understands what the legal side of it is in good detail, and of course Mike Watkins is a trainer. The Mag's Court, of course, is the first rung of the criminal process. They both authors have extremely good experience of the courts, and obviously they handle in excess of 90% of the criminal cases. Remember, of course, the magistrates, although not legally qualified, they are supported by qualified advisors, are concerned and committed citizens who, following their course of training, give up their time to serve their local communities. That, of course, is one of the oldest of our public institutions. They perform unpaid public service, and there's no real equal in the world. The timeline, as I said at the back, which I thought was very helpful, gives you some idea of the history of the magistrates' courts, and it also shows, that's the actual timeline there, and there's also at the back, after that, it gives you a very useful index, and this is to go with books which are far more weighty, like Stone's or Anthony and Berryman. I think the popularity of the handbook amply demonstrates the fact that when the first edition came out, there was no book like it. I think it's excellent. They certainly have been able to get into that particular market that we need. It's got graphs, tables, diagrams, and all sorts of other things which are very helpful. And there is an excellent glossary of terms, because one of the things I've found taking people to court is the funny little terminology that we have, and blank faces when they hear words which we're not really associated with, but which are everyday practice, if you like, within the magistrates' court. It's aimed, of course, at a much wider readership, unlike Anthony and Berryman and Stone's, but obviously they've each got their own requirements. So in conclusion, let me just say that this introduction series, and there are a number of books in this series, they're certainly apt, and I think they should be required reading for anybody seeking to understand or who is directly involved in the criminal justice process. So therefore it is a benchmark book, managing basic concepts with a suitable level of detail, and it's radically been rewritten and adapted and updated for 2010. And there are no cases. So thank you very much, Bryan, and thank you, Mike. Bye-bye.